Good afternoon. It's the Pit Stop. This is our look ahead show where we look ahead to the racing coming up this weekend. Of course, at Las Vegas Speedway this weekend. And Las Vegas is one of my favorite tracks coming up. But first, if you missed our look back show earlier in the week, where we look back, of course, at the racing that happened last weekend, as well there at the Charlotte Roval. That is up here, not only at Robat TV on demand, but of course on the free YouTube page and on Podbean as a free podcast as well at the Pit Stop Talk is where you can find that out there. And, of course, every week up until after the championship race, we do 2 shows a week. A look back and a look ahead, plus all the news around the racing world as, all the other, circuits, et cetera, are done for the year as NASCAR is racing toward its championship season as well that we are looking at for it. And, look, it's busy times around here with the championship coming up. And this weekend, in Las Vegas, we've got the Xfinity and the Cup Series battling it out. Truck Series is off this week. It'll be back underway next week, next Friday night over there at Talladega, where everybody will be racing in the national circuit next weekend. But Las Vegas this weekend for Xfinity and Cup. And let's get started. We'll talk a little bit about the Xfinity series here coming up. It's the first race this weekend of this round of 8. And, just as a reminder, let's look at the playoff standings as they stand right now in the Xfinity Series. So we'll throw up that here. Connor Zilic, of course, 55 points up in the lead here over that elimination line at that 4th spot. Justin Allgaier second, 24 points up. Brandon Jones, 4 points from the cut line. Sam Mayer close, very, very close to it at +2. Then you got Jesse Love on the other side looking underneath elimination line, -2 points out. Sammy Smith, 7. Carson Cavapel, the other rookie in this that's still alive. Connor Zilic and Carson Cavapel, the only 2 rookies remaining here in the Xfinity Series playoffs as we go forward. And then Sheldon Creed, the odd man out there, right? 13 points out there going into this round of 8. The round of 8 races are Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. The 4 that move on come here to Phoenix here for the championship race, the weekend of October 31st as well coming up. Connor Zilic, as you see on your screen there, 57-point lead basically from the cutoff line. It's the largest gap entering the round of 8 in playoff history. And as you know, he's dominated throughout the season. And he's had competition, but he's dominated, especially on the road courses this year. But he leads his teammate there, Justin Allgaier, in second place by 33 points. The other 7 drivers, well, they're separated by 35 points between them. That's how big of a lead Connor Zilic has going into this weekend in Las Vegas for this first race in the round of 8. Justin Allgaier and Sam Mayer, they're the only remaining playoff drivers to actually ever make the championship 4. So experience is here. For this side, both above the cut line as of right now. I told you before, last on the look back show earlier this week, I told you obviously Connor Zilic is moving on to the next round, even if he has to point his way in. Justin Allgaier, I believe he's moving on to the next round. Sam Mayer, I believe he's moving on as well. Who will be that 4th driver to move on is kind of the question that we have out there, and we'll have to see, right, with Sam Mayer even kind of questionable right now, just barely above that cut line, from that perspective. Carson Cavapel, right, as a rookie, can he surprise and get up there? Kind of the question that we have. Of course, Las Vegas this weekend, 1.5-mile asphalt oval. It's one of my favorite racetracks in the NASCAR circuit. One, I enjoy watching races there in person. Not going to make it this year out there for the playoff run. And also, there's some weather this weekend that might come into play, right? We're here in the Phoenix area where we record this show. Well, we got rain coming in. Salt Lake City, just north of Las Vegas, a few hours, getting hit with a lot of rain and snow on Saturday night as well. How's that going to affect this weekend in NASCAR is kind of the question we got to deal with here. But this is one of my favorite races, and it's either cold, it's either really super windy, or it's super hot. Those are like the 3 question marks when you go to Las Vegas and what we're looking at in terms of what happens around the racetrack going into it. This Xfinity race at Las Vegas is Saturday. It's going to be an afternoon race in Las Vegas, an evening race for everybody else on the East Coast, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. which means 4:30 p.m. at Las Vegas and Phoenix time as well. You can catch the Xfinity Series on the CW. And practice will be Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Phoenix time. Obviously qualifying right after that. 3:05 Eastern time till 4 o'clock. 12:05 Phoenix time here if you want to watch practice and qualifying in the Xfinity Series and see kind of what we're dealing with on track conditions here. It's not, is it going to be hot with the sun beating down on it? Is it going to be windy and a little chilly as weather moves in? Is there going to be rain hitting the racetrack? Is kind of what we need to keep an eye on. Las Vegas is the sixth and final 1.5-mile race this season. Obviously, Talladega, Martinsville, and then you got Phoenix coming up after that, which I think NASCAR's bread and butter is the 1.5-mile race courses here. And it's, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel here with Talladega, Martinsville, and then Phoenix here as the wrap up, to be honest with you. Of course, next year we go to Homestead, Miami is the finish race there as a 1.5-miler. So I just love the 1.5-milers. That's what made NASCAR, and you can deviate for regular season. I just like to see a little bit more of those here at the end of the playoffs. But that's just my side as well. Here's an interesting note specifically about Las Vegas because it is the round of 8 opening race. No driver has won the round of 8 opener and gone on to win a championship in the Xfinity Series. What does that mean for, of course, Connor Zilisch, Justin Allgaier, who are favorites going into this weekend to win here? What does it mean for them? Now, does another driver like Eric Almirola, who finished second here in this race earlier in this fall time in March when the race was there, does another non-playoff guy get up and win this to kind of keep that stat going on the opening side of things? So a nice little side note here on Las Vegas coming up as well. Justin Allgaier did win this race back in March. He runs Las Vegas really, really well. If he doesn't win it, he's always a top 5. He's battling for the lead. He's lots of top 10 finishes here for him. And that was his only win in Las Vegas. Like I said, 19 top 10s and 22 starts at Las Vegas. He's always been good at Las Vegas, even if it didn't equate to wins. Did get the win there in March as well, but the last 7 Las Vegas races, they were run by 7 different drivers. So you don't repeat here in the Xfinity Series. So does that push Justin Allgaier kind of out of your pick here this weekend is the question. Obviously, it's going to be speed here that dominates. Yes, strategy comes involved. You're not going to see a ton of tire wear off probably. You're going to see some green flag, pit stops coming into play. But that strategy till the end is going to be the question marks. How many cautions do you see at the end? And that strategy coming involved is going to be a big question mark as well. In terms of who's won, at Las Vegas, well, Austin Hill and Justin Allgaier, they're the only active drivers to win at Las Vegas here in the Xfinity Series. So we're going into another track where people haven't won at before. Now, they obviously raced there in March, so people have raced here in the past and dealt with the Las Vegas track. You look up the weather to kind of see where we at on Las Vegas. I know here in the Phoenix area, which very similar weather between these two communities here, even though we're just a few hours apart from each other. But what's it going to be in Las Vegas here on Saturday is kind of the question mark that we have to look at here. And I'm going to give you right here on the show, I'm going to give you what it is right now and what we're looking at Las Vegas. Current weather right now, light rain showers there in Las Vegas. Now it's Thursday, plenty of time to overcome that. And it looks like actually the weather has adjusted from what we had seen before. Saturday, high of 84 degrees, low of 63 for a night race. A little chilly for Las Vegas standards, 63. There for the Xfinity Series on Saturday. And I know we're not talking Cup, but I'll give you a heads up here. 77 degrees is a high on Sunday, and sunny there in Las Vegas for the late afternoon race on the Cup side as well. So it looks like they're going to escape some of the rain that they're getting right now. So that is a positive going into this weekend. Now, do they get that horrendous Las Vegas wind that happens in Las Vegas as well? Something to pay attention to as we get into this weekend here. And Saturday, we'll know. Well, before we get into the news on the Xfinity side, I'll tell you here, right? You got Connor Zilisch obviously a favorite here to win and advance to the Final Four. He's going to advance whether it points or he wins in this round. He will win in this round, I do believe. He's got a fast car. He's going to compete for the win here in Las Vegas. So is Justin Allgaier. He's going to win and compete as well. Can any of the other playoff drivers get up there at the front and compete for a win here before you get into the chaos of Talladega, where, quite frankly, anybody can surprise win there, or the chaos of Martinsville coming up? A lot of these points, guys, in these playoffs, basically 3 through 8, very close in points. And you don't know what's going to happen at the other races. This is the racetrack you need to come up and survive and win this. Do we get a repeat winner for the first time in a long time at Las Vegas for Xfinity with Justin Allgaier? Does Connor Zillitz show up and do what he does best and win here at Las Vegas? I'm going to go with a guy that just constantly runs Las Vegas well. I have sat in those Las Vegas stands. I've been freezing sometimes. I've been sweating to death sometimes. I've been, all wind chapped sometimes. And you got to hold on to everything because there's 80-mile-per-hour winds. I know I'm exaggerating, but 35-mile-per-hour winds blowing throughout everything there. I'm going to go with the repeat guy and a guy that runs it constantly. Justin Allgaier, the number 7 car, winning this weekend. JR Motorsports here at Las Vegas, punching his ticket into the round, to the championship 4 here coming up for him. He's going to make it regardless of points or winning it. So he might as well win it this weekend and advance out there in the Xfinity Series for Justin Allgaier. Interesting news in terms of the Xfinity Series, right? Harrison Burton and AM Racing actually both announced they're going to part ways for next season, the 2026 O'Reilly Auto Parts season. Of course, Xfinity moving on and O'Reilly taking over the sponsorship here for next year. Both sides announced it yesterday, or Wednesday afternoon, I should say. Now here, the interesting thing, Harrison Burton lost his Cup ride in last year. AM Racing picked him up, and he has done amazing things here for the AM Racing crew, right? He qualified, obviously, for the 2025 Xfinity Series playoffs with them, and that was after the team finished 32nd in the 2024 owners' standings. They were terrible last year. Through the 29 races so far, Burton set a team record for top 5 finishes. He's had 2 of those. He's had 10 top 10 finishes and a 14.8 average finishing position for him as well. And that's on pace to shatter the organization's records anywhere in their previous best numbers from that side. Now, what this tells me is, because obviously they'd like to stay there, that tells me Burton has a ride for next year that they like better. He did say that he has announced his 2026 plans at a later date, but that's probably because, is there a Cup ride for him waiting back again where he can move back up into the Cup Series? And they can't announce that yet because the other things have to fall into there. So Harrison Burton leaving at least AM Racing side of Xfinity after this season, and we'll have to see where he goes from there. But I wouldn't say it's shocking news because he, quite frankly, he deserves a Cup shot in my opinion. He just needs to do it on a better team than he's had in the past out there. More support from his team to get up there and show what he can do on the Cup side of things. And I hope he gets that opportunity again, but we'll have to wait and see where we stand here for Harrison Burton, but that news out there. So Justin Allgaier is my pick in Las Vegas. I'm looking forward to this weekend's racing. And when we come back here at the pit stop, well, we'll look at the Cup Series and what we have on shore this weekend at Las Vegas. So come on back with me. It's the pit stop here at Robat TV and YouTube. And we're back here at the pit stop. And of course, you just saw advertising there for the other shows that we produce here. Of course, you got McCollum on Business live at 11 o'clock on Robat TV. Of course, as soon as that's wrapped up, you can find it on demand at Robat TV and, of course, on the free YouTube channel as well for that. The main event, which is sports-based programming, overall sports side of things, live 8 to 10 a.m. here at Robat TV. On demand at Robat TV, free podcast systems as well. If you want to listen to it, Google, Spotify, iHeart, all of them. They're out there in the main event. Me and 17-year NFL veteran Dale Hellestray get you updated on the sports world today. Uncle Lou, Veasan as well, Gamblu.com. He's a handicapper out there, but he talks about sports. And if you don't gamble, it kind of gives you a different perspective on how you talk about these games this weekend around the water cooler, if you will, at the office or with your friends when you hang out with them. Live on demand right now, the YouTube channel and on Robat TV and the podcast systems. Obviously, this show, The Pit Stop, as well. You find it here on demand, Robat TV, also on the free YouTube page. And it does have a podcast for those of you that want to listen to that. At the Pit Stop Talk at Podbean is where you can find that right now. And then, of course, social media at the Pit Stop Talk here on X. If you want to have the social media aspect with this as well, please give us a like and follow in all of those formats, however you'd like to. And then, of course, you saw the ad there for The Real Matrix. The first 3 shows are up at Robat TV, starting this next Wednesday coming up here, right? Today's the weekend of October 10th is coming our way. Next Wednesday, you will see The Real Matrix every day, every Wednesday at noon, come out with a new episode. The Angry Patriot, he wants you to see what he feels the government does and things to that aspect. If that's your type of programming, first 3 episodes up at Robat TV right now on demand. Free podcast as well. Right now, it's just on Podbean. Just search The Real Matrix. It'll come right up for you. We will get it out to the other podcasts. We're just waiting for the links back. And, we've had to deal with some stuff. We have to upload some stuff to YouTube to prove we have rights to things. Coming to YouTube as well. So that is going to be on our YouTube channel for the production side that we do here as well. And folks, we keep this rolling here with the Cup Series right this weekend at Las Vegas. I said kind of an upset. It's not an upset because Justin Allgaier can compete with his teammate Connor Zilisch to win a championship this year. Absolutely. So it's not really an upset, but I'm picking an upset because Connor Zilisch should be the favorite to win at Las Vegas. And it's going that way. Now, this is the Look Ahead show. We had the Look Back show earlier in the week. But first, we got the Charlotte Roval ratings here for the Cup Series. So let's take a moment, look back at that, because NASCAR ratings have been down this year overall, especially as the summer has gone on. And we now know the Charlotte Roval last week in that elimination race of the round of 12, the USA Network earned 1.544 million viewers for that elimination race there at the Roval. It did air on NBC back in 2024, so no direct comparison between the two, obviously. USA Network, got to kind of search for that if you aren't, there, and as opposed to the regular NBC network, which is the big boy one as well. So ratings continue to be in that low million and a half range here for these playoff sides. Maybe that's why there's so much talk about possibly changing the playoff format moving forward here to kind of stifle these ratings up as well. But and I said it in the Look Back show earlier this week. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out there at YouTube or Robat TV. But I said it. I go, that was a boring race. If it wasn't for the elimination, if it wasn't for Joey Logano and Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin and them dealing with that was just a mundane race there at the Charlotte Roval. That made it a little bit more exciting. So how can you improve it in the playoffs is the question we got to look at, right? But this is, again, just like Xfinity, the first race of the round of 8 here. So let's remind you here of where we stand in the playoff settings as they've been reset here going into this Las Vegas race here this weekend. Very close in points here coming up. And we got some stats here for you that kind of opened my eyes as I was doing research here going into this round of Las Vegas. But Denny Hamlin with the plus 8 points over the cut line. Ryan Blaney plus 6 points up. Kyle Larson, 4 points up, along with his teammate William Byron there at Hendrick Motorsports, both above the cutoff line. Christopher Bell, 4 points below with Joe Gibbs Racing. And then you got Chase Briscoe, 14 back, along with Chase Elliott, 14 points back. And then Joey Logano, 24 points back right now going into this race. This is basically anybody can win. Any of these 8 drivers can win here in this round. Any of these 8 drivers can flip up to the positive side with their experience and what they've got. Current round of 8 drivers have won 5 of the last 6 races at Las Vegas. Josh Berry won it in the March race here, so he would be one of those exceptions coming into this. In each of the last 2 seasons, only one driver made the championship 4 on points. Basically, that means 3 playoff drivers have won in the round of 8, moving them on, which meant only one spot open via points. Does that continue here with Las Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville coming up? Or does, like in the March race, a Josh Berry, a non-playoff driver, come up and win a race and have 2 cars drive on from that perspective? A driver has won into the championship 4 from below the cut line during the round of 8. Well, they've done it in 8 of 10 seasons of this playoff format here. So, guys can win. So, Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, odds are in 8 of the 10 seasons of this playoff format, one of those guys has won and moved up into the positive side of things as well. Interesting enough, with Joey Logano, you see the minus 24 points right now. That is the most, or the largest deficit, I should phrase it here, in the history entering this round. Nobody has entered this round with this big of a deficit, 24 points. 28 if you include the 4 points from William Byron. Joey Logano, I'm going to guess, is going to need a win in order to advance, or with the help of Talladega, somebody else gets out of this race or one of these races early with Talladega and Martinsville coming up, and him being able to be out there passing him on this side. So it'll be interesting to see if that 24 points there can be kind of overdone here by Joey Logano moving forward. The number 1 seed, of course, is Denny Hamlin. He enters the round only 8 points above the cut line. That's the smallest gap in history for the number 1 seed. Previously, the number was Kyle Busch, plus 18 back in 2019 is that number. That's how close this round is here, especially for the top 5 guys here in the standings. Then it gets a little bit more spread out. But even if you add Chase Briscoe and Chase Elliott into that at minus 14, they're even, in a good number here compared to that Kyle Busch plus 18 number here going into this race. So obviously Las Vegas Motor Speedway this week, that 1.5 mile asphalt oval. These guys are going to be fast this weekend. You need speed in Las Vegas to win. You need a little bit of strategy. You need some of the wrecks to go your way as the race goes on. But you need speed, period, here at Las Vegas. Obviously, this race is on Sunday as well. 5:30 p.m. Eastern time means 2:30 p.m., of course, Phoenix and Las Vegas time. So a late afternoon race there in Las Vegas. I've already given you the weather report on the Xfinity side. They say no rain there either on Sunday for the Cup Series. Now, like I said, Las Vegas. I've been to Las Vegas with 30, 40 mile per hour winds blowing through. The teams couldn't even put up their where they sit and look at their computers and everything, their pit stalls. They couldn't even set those up because they were falling over and blowing over. Is that going to be that type of weather? Is it going to be 77 degrees with the Las Vegas sun out there? Is that going to bring some heat down there? Or is it going to be more on the colder side? Something to pay attention to going into this race. Practice in Busch Light qualifying for the pole, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, which means 1:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday for the NASCAR series for those of you that like to partake in that stuff. Chase Briscoe, Chase Briscoe's won the last pole on the 1.5 mile races, the last 2 races. Can Chase Briscoe keep that going and get on the pole this week as well, and at least start here at Las Vegas with an advantage going into this race? As I said, Las Vegas is the first race of this round of 8. It's Talladega, Martinsville coming up. This is a big difference here in these 3 racetracks. Guys like Kyle Larson who struggle at Talladega, struggle at Martinsville and those types of tracks, this is your shot right now to win this race. Move on. Same thing with William Byron, for instance. I have more faith in a Joey Logano, a Christopher Bell to have more success at Talladega and Martinsville than I do at Las Vegas in terms of the speed. So you got to take advantage of this if you are one of those faster cars And as I said, Larson, William Byron, I'm talking about you two guys. Even Denny Hamlin, I'll throw in there as well. I'm talking about you guys out there. Las Vegas in the spring race there in March, it had a track record, 32 lead changes during that race. And you'll see more of that here, not just because of pit stops. They do allow for passing here in Las Vegas when they battle it out there, especially cars side by side. One will pull up, get the lead, come out of turn 2, for instance, the battle down the backstretch, and then somebody will take the lead there in 3 and 4. So if the weather's good and that track is warmed up, you're going to see a lot of lead changes. I do believe that this weekend as well coming into it. Joey Logano has 4. Kyle Larson has 3. Well, they're the only repeat winners here at Las Vegas in the last 15 races. Good news here, Josh Berry won in March, so that doesn't – now, Josh Berry can win again, I suppose, but it doesn't affect the playoff side in terms of that number that we're talking about going forward. Here's the issue, right? You need speed here. Toyotas traditionally have a lot of speed, especially the Joe Gibbs Toyotas. The RFK Toyotas can have a lot of speed as well. The RFK cars can have a lot of speed as well. For them, going into this, the Chevys always have speed at tracks at Las Vegas. But here's an interesting stat for you. Denny Hamlin, all the way back in September of 2021, he's the only Toyota driver to win at Las Vegas in the last 11 races. Kyle Busch is from Las Vegas. He's had some success there over the years when he was with Joe Gibbs Racing and the Toyota. That's an alarming stat here in my eyes here. You expect Joe Gibbs Racing to have some speed. Christopher Bell could be in the mix here this weekend. Denny Hamlin absolutely could be in the mix, but this is an interesting stat here. Only Toyota driver to win at Las Vegas in the last 11 races. That takes us back to 2021. Can they find what they need here this weekend in terms of Toyota at Las Vegas? 4 of the 8 playoff drivers are Las Vegas winners, and their combined 9 wins are there as well. So we have some people with some success at Las Vegas. Joey Logano has 4 wins. Larson 3, and he got his first win with Hendrick Motorsports there at Las Vegas. Denny Hamlin has 1, and then William Byron won, I believe, 2 years ago there. But William Byron recently won there at Las Vegas as well. So a lot of experience with Logano and Larson. Does the Penske Fords have enough speed this weekend to get the win here? History says yes. Lately, though, I'm not too sure they'll be able to compete to get it. We'll have to pay attention to that going into this weekend. Hendrick Motorsports drivers, well, they've won 5 of the last 9 Las Vegas races. 3 different drivers of Hendrick Motorsports have done it as well. Alex Bowman and William Byron, as you know, have already won 1, and then Alex Larson won the 3. I gave you those stats already. But they have a lot of success, Hendrick Motorsports does here in Las Vegas, especially the Chevrolets. There's just something about Las Vegas and what they can do here. And it's just they're there at the end. Kyle Larson leads all drivers at Las Vegas. 690 laps led, 7 stage wins. His average finish of 9.39 leads all drivers with more than 3 starts for Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson runs Las Vegas very well, even when he's having downtime. Kyle Larson is definitely a favorite this weekend. I like William Byron and his speed a little bit as well to be there at the end in terms of the Hendrick Chevrolet drivers out there. The driver that won the opening round of the round of 8, well, they went on to win the championship in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Pay attention to who wins this race going into the championship 4 if it's a playoff driver that wins this weekend. The trends are that you win this race here, the opening round of the round of 8, which is Las Vegas. You have a tendency to go on and win the championship. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but something interesting to pay attention to with the winner of this race. This weekend's race is the last, as I said, of the 1.5-mile tracks. Told you that on the Xfinity side of things. Here, so Talladega, Martinsville, Phoenix coming up. 3 distinct racetracks where, quite frankly, anything can happen out there until you get to Phoenix, and then you just need the speed to get out front. And your pit stops have to be good here in Phoenix. Toyota, by the way, I just gave you the Toyota winless at Las Vegas. You want to extrapolate that out a little bit? Toyota is actually winless in the last 6 races on the 1.5-mile tracks in 2025. Toyota does not win on these 1.5-mile tracks, folks. this year in 2025. I don't know what's happened to them, but they just aren't there at the end of this race. A mile and a half track races. Kyle Larson finished top 10 in the last 3 races. His best streak since April and beginning of May. Kyle Larson is getting hot at the right time. He struggled, had a good start to the season, struggled in the middle to the end of the season in terms of the regular season, and he's getting hot right now, and he's quietly getting hot as well. Here's an interesting stat, as we told you, right? Fords. Toyotas have struggled here. Fords, Joey Logano with his 4 wins here in Las Vegas. But Team Penske won in the round of 8 in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Of course, 2 of those they propelled into championships with Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano as well. So you got to pay attention to Team Penske here. I don't know if Team Penske is going to have the speed to be there at the end. Could they? Absolutely they can. Will they is the question. They have a lot of struggles here coming up. I put a little bit more faith on Team Penske at Talladega and Martinsville than I do here coming up this weekend. I have very little faith that anybody on the Toyota side, Joe Gibbs Racing, in the play, I have little doubt of any of these guys being able to have the speed, get through the green flag, pit stops, and being there at the end this weekend. It's just the way they're racing kind of just doesn't make sense in my mind on how they're going to get there. So I think a Hendrick Motorsports driver is going to win this weekend. Sure, 23-11, right? Bubba Wallace will probably be there at the end. Maybe Riddick will be there at the end in terms of the Toyotas, but they're out of the playoffs at this point from that side. Kyle Larson loves this racetrack. Kyle Larson dominates this racetrack. And the other side of it, same thing with William Byron, by the way. William Byron's fast here. But they also were looking ahead in the schedule with Talladega, Martinsville coming up, not their specialties. Kyle Larson or William Byron needs to win this race probably more than anybody else in the playoff 8. Joey Logano needs to have a good race to shrink that gap from 24 down here going into the other 2. I want to lean toward William Byron this weekend. It's just he's got a teammate that is just more powerful and loves this racetrack a little bit more. And quite frankly, leads a lot of this. And he is successful here in Las Vegas. I'm going to go with Kyle Larson to win this race this weekend at Las Vegas. Coming up here and propelling himself into the championship 4 with the win here this weekend. Let me know, right? At the Pit Stop Talk. Let me know how you feel or who you think is going to advance here after this Las Vegas race coming up as well, because it gets interesting after this, folks. Talladega, Martinsville, a disadvantage for some of these drivers in these playoffs, so it's going to be fascinating to see who kind of pushes it this weekend in this mile-and-a-half track. There's lots of news going around the Cup Series here as we wrap up this pit stop show on this look-ahead show for the Las Vegas racing weekend. I call it the lawsuit that will never die. We're getting closer to the court date in December. Coming up, we're talking, of course, the 2311 Front Row Motorsports. Again, NASCAR thing. I think the lawsuit has been dealt a major blow here when the other teams came out and said they want this just to go away and they support the charter system. I think that was it's close to a death nail, a final nail in the coffin there for the lawsuit guys, Front Row Motorsports and 2311, in terms of where we're going with this. And, there's going to be skin taken off of both of these guys, NASCAR and these teams, if it goes to court and they go through that process. And a lot of times, if you don't know in this process, judges always want a negotiation conference to see if there can be a settlement out there. Well, now, NASCAR has asked for that last week. Well, now the judge there, his name is Judge Bell, he ordered NASCAR and 2311 and Front Row Motorsports to actually participate in a settlement conference here officially. Doesn't mean a settlement's going to happen, but there is going to be a mediator there. October 21st is when the mediator is going to meet with them and sit down and try to do a settlement conference. What's the difference? I know 2311 especially wants to take some skin out of NASCAR, and they think they have a winning case. They don't. They need to figure out a way to settle this. They need to figure out a way to get their charters back, and that could be part of the settlement. Hey, NASCAR, we'll drop this case. We apologize. Can we sign our charter and we move on with our lives? Then NASCAR has to say yes. how much hatred is between these guys moving forward is the bigger question, that we need to look at here. But NASCAR asked for the settlement conference, and judge is giving them that here as well. So the judge's order specifically for you legal nerds out there, I'm going to read it verbatim. Quote, motion for judicial settlement conference is granted in part with the consent of all parties. The court will hold a settlement conference together with the parties, designated mediator, his name is Jeffrey at Michigan, beginning 9:30 a.m. on October 21st. Watch your updates here on NASCAR. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk as well. We'll have updates of what comes out after the settlement negotiations are over and everything moving forward. So they did reschedule the summary judgment and everything because of this negotiated settlement type process. I also was trying to look up how many settlements happen when you go into these mediations, and I don't know the answer to that. And to me, NASCAR would love to have this settled. To me, I think 2311 Front Row Motorsports, but specifically 2311, I don't think they want to settle. I think they want to see it all the way through. And if they lose, well, they'll just pack up and leave the sport. I just wonder if that's part of this deal here. They just want to wreck the sport. And not wreck it, but, do some damage to the sport. I don't mean it like a negative deal in terms of, they're not just looking to harm the sport. They want to make changes. And they want to tell the France family how to make those changes. Well, they don't own it. So it's going to be fascinating to see where this goes. Other news coming out about NASCAR, right? There was a lot of talk after the Charlotte Roval on that late race radio communications. Look, a lot of Twitter people went to, if you don't know, you can go to NASCAR.com. You can watch the in-car videos. You can listen to the radios and stuff. And some of the people on X came out and after the race and talked about some late race radio communications. And it became a hot topic as people were posting stuff at the Roval. NASCAR said they're going to meet with teams before the round of 8 here to stress that manipulation won't be tolerated if they catch you doing it. Now, NASCAR did take no action. They did review it. They took no action in that late race radio transmissions of Alex Bowman and Cole Custer. Their team communication, as I said, drew a lot of attention on X and other social medias. This was when Custer was racing behind Joey Logano. He, of course, as you know, captured that last spot when Ross Chastain hit Denny Hamlin, and then they spun out, and he passed them to move on into the round of 8. Ross Chastain eliminated at that time as well. So the communication, some people caught on to the communication because Bowman was near Chastain. When it happened, people logged onto it. NASCAR reviewed it. Nothing now, but NASCAR is telling teams, don't do it moving forward, right? And this is what they said this week, NASCAR. At a certain point during this week, we will just remind teams to not put yourselves or ourselves in jeopardy here. This is coming from NASCAR Managing Director of Communications, Mike Ford. And he said all this during a Hauler Talk segment here on NASCAR Radio and the podcast. He said fans should be coming to the racetrack and expecting a straight-up race where each position's fought for as hard as possible, especially at the end of the race, is what he says. If we do see something or hear something that we don't like, we are going to step in, which we've done now several times. So we are aware, and if we hear something, we will certainly react as necessary. He went on in this podcast to say, he thanks the fans to sit at home. He said we have a bunch of officials at home watching the radio talk, watching the in-cars, and they're reporting stuff in. They're posting it. NASCAR's seeing it. So NASCAR is going to remind teams, don't manipulate the races at the end, as they go forward here, and just remind them. Now, interesting here as well, Dale Jr. Download, one of the best NASCAR podcasts out there. You got, Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoy. Of course, you got Actions Detrimental with Danny Hamlin. Dale Jr. Download is a very popular one. It's a lot of fun to watch as well. But on yesterday's episode of Dale Jr. Download, NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell was on there. And he actually announced that the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season, they're going to make some changes to the horsepower, which fans have been clamoring for and a lot of drivers for a long time. Right now on some of these smaller racetracks, it's 600 horsepower, I believe is what it is. Well, they're going to increase the horsepower to 750 horsepower at the ovals, measuring less than 1.5 miles, and all road courses coming up for next year. This is what people have been clamoring for and wanting in a long time, folks. The list of tracks that'll have the increased power if it's under 1.5. Well, Bowman Gray Stadium, the Clash racetrack to start the season in early February, that's going to be one of them. Then the road courses, right? Circuit of the Americas. Phoenix Raceway is under 1.5 miles, so it'll be on there. Darlington, Martinsville, Bristol, Watkins Glen being a road course. Dover, Nashville Super Speedway, San Diego Street Course will have the 750 horsepower as well. Sonoma, North Wilkesboro, which of course is a points race next year as well, and then Iowa Speedway. Richmond, New Hampshire, Worldwide Technology Raceway outside of St. Louis being the road course. And then, of course, the Roval there at Charlotte Raceway will have the increased 750 horsepower that everybody's been clamoring for. NASCAR said they've listened to their fans and the drivers and the teams that wanted that increased horsepower, and they're finally doing it here. Restricting these guys down to lower horsepowers is a reduction, and especially on the road courses. The more horsepower will mean some more get-up, maybe mean some more passing coming our way as guys are able to get some pickup, right, out of a turn before the next turn comes up there. So NASCAR at least going and adjusting that rule here finally on the higher horsepower. So lots of big news around NASCAR, of course, going into this first race of the round of 8. Xfinity Cup Series this weekend, Saturday and Sunday in Las Vegas. This is one of my favorite racetracks out there. It just is. I'm looking so much fun to watching it this weekend. Of course, Truck Series off this weekend, and won't see them again until next Friday night at Talladega. But folks, come on back and join us at the Look Back show, at the beginning of next week. It comes out on Mondays or Tuesdays, where we look back at the racing at Las Vegas. And then, of course, we'll look ahead to Talladega later next week. Get caught up on the shows here. Appreciate you joining us. Share us with your friends, would you? We'll all see you next week. Have fun with some Las Vegas racing this weekend.